Let us now turn our gaze toward the practice of this forgetting. For wisdom that does not walk among men soon becomes a ghost. It lingers in books and sermons, but does not breathe. The task before us is not to admire the philosophy of self-forgetting, but to live it, to make it the rhythm of our thought, the pulse of our speech, the quiet companion of our days. To forget yourself is not to abandon responsibility, nor to lapse into apathy or indifference. It is, rather, to stand before life without the incessant commentary of the I. When you speak, let the words flow as water from the spring, not rehearsed, not defended, but true to the moment that gave them birth. When you act not as one protecting a reputation, but as one obeying a deeper impulse of harmony. The self that fears mistake will always falter, for fear divides the will. But the self that has forgotten itself cannot stumble, for it moves as nature moves, effortlessly, inevitably.
Observe the birds in their flight. None debates the correctness of its direction. None worries whether another bird approves. The robin sings not to be heard, but because it must sing. Its song is the very exhalation of being. So too, when the mind ceases to defend its image, every act becomes a song of necessity. You write not to impress, but because you cannot do otherwise. You love not to be loved, but because the heart is a sun that cannot help but shine.
You may ask, but how shall I live in this world that demands performance? The world, my friend, will always demand masks. The marketplace has no patience for the naked soul. Yet it is possible to wear the mask lightly, to let it serve its function without confusing it for the face. You may attend to your duties, conduct your trade, fulfill your art, and yet remain inwardly free, unclaimed by the identity those roles confer. Perform them as the actor who knows he is upon the stage, yet whose spirit remains untouched by the applause or the jeer. Indeed, the man who has forgotten himself often appears strange to others. They will call him detached, aloof, impractical. Yet it is he who sees most clearly. For when the fog of self-importance lifts, reality gleams in its uncorrupted brightness. Every leaf becomes a revelation, every face a mirror of the infinite. The most ordinary moment swells with quiet majesty, for the world no longer reflects the anxious self, but the stillness of being itself. Consider the craftsman who carves wood. If he carves to prove his worth, his hand trembles, his lines are forced, his shapes constrained. But if he forgets himself, if he becomes wholly absorbed in the grain and the form, then the chisel moves as though guided by another hand. The art reveals itself through him. The man is gone, and only the work remains. This too is the art of living, to become so attuned to the pulse of the universe that the distinction between you and life dissolves. Then, action is not something you do, it is something that happens through you. This, I tell you, is true freedom. The world believes freedom is the power to choose, to select among pleasures and paths. But this is a child's freedom, the liberty of appetite. The deeper freedom is not the power to do what you will, but to will nothing. It is the release from the compulsions of self-interest, from the endless hunger to be this or that, to possess, to control. When you forget who you are, the world ceases to be your opponent. It becomes your reflection, your collaborator, your teacher. You no longer stand apart from life, demanding that it satisfy you. You become part of its great breathing, its rhythm, its unfolding.
And what peace descends upon the man who thus lives? His mind, once a battlefield of ambitions and regrets, becomes a meadow of stillness. The future no longer torments him, for he sees that each moment contains its own perfection. The past no longer shames him, for he knows it was but the dream of a self now dissolved. He walks as one newly awakened from sleep, astonished by the freshness of existence. He listens to the wind not as background noise, but as sacred speech. He watches the faces of men and hears in them the murmuring of the divine.
It is not necessary to withdraw to the mountains to achieve this. The forgetting of the self does not require seclusion, only sincerity. You may begin in the smallest acts, in conversation, in labor, in rest. When you speak, pause and listen for the silence beneath the words. When you walk, feel the weight of the earth beneath your feet, and remember that the earth too walks in you. When anger arises, do not condemn it nor identify with it. Simply observe, as though watching the weather shift across the sky of your being. You are not the storm. You are the sky. Every thought that declares, I am this or I am that, is a cloud. Let it pass. Behind it lies the vast blue expanse of your true nature, untouched and infinite. The clouds will come and go, let them. The sky does not chase them, nor does it cling. It remains itself through all change.
You may find, as this practice deepens, that the familiar landmarks of your inner life begin to fade. The opinions you once defended with such zeal lose their flavor. The ambitions that once inflamed your spirit seem strangely pale. Even your sorrows lose their weight. Do not be alarmed. You are not becoming less, you are becoming whole. The mind resists this emptiness, for it cannot profit from what it cannot name. But the heart knows. The heart has always known.
It is the same transformation that occurs when the river, long confined to its narrow channel, breaks through the banks and becomes the sea. The river dies only in appearance. In truth, it becomes infinite. So when the boundaries of the I dissolve, you do not vanish, you expand. You no longer live as a drop of water defending its edges, but as the ocean containing all drops.